All right. Well, good evening, everyone. I appreciate you having me. Just out of curiosity, how what is your AI experience? You use it a little, a lot, and what tools do you use? And how do you use them? Just out of curiosity.
I would say I use Claude and
Okay.
ChatGPT
Hmm.
more for revising things,
Okay.
maybe outlining things. But yeah,
Anybody else want to share? Or is everybody shy? Uh, if you're shy, that's okay. I'm just trying to get a feel of people's expertise or how they use the tools currently, so I can make sure I don't go too far, too wide, or too simplistically. So, all right. Have you ever built any skills or any agents or anything like that? Just out of curiosity. Anybody? No. All right.
no.
Nope. Okay. All right. Well, today I'm going to walk you through what I like to call capital event intelligence and build an operating system with, and we leverage what I call digital employees to do that. And what I try to encourage people to do is, I see something in the chat. No. Okay. Uh, I try to encourage people to own their thinking, and we just using AI to execute it at scale. Right. And one way we can do that is through this concept of digital employees, and I'll walk you through these text files you can create so you can embed how you do things into these things. But it helps with hallucinations, and you get a lot of better output. So let's go ahead and get started. And I'll show you an example, and I'll give you a resource so you can, everything I show you, you'll be able to test out for yourself if you're interested. So, all right. So what I like to say is the key is not working harder, but just working and to find opportunity and how you can leverage it. And that could be for different things. It could be necessarily you're looking for signals, maybe if you're a student, for where you might want to focus your efforts for job opportunities. For example, I always like to tell people, the federal government and all this spending on data centers and all this AI infrastructure spending is creating all this threats and opportunity at the same time. They're going to spend over $2 trillion in the next 5 to 6 years on all this infrastructure, which is going to impact energy. They have all these job commitments that they have to do for the jobs that have to be filled related to it here in Maryland alone, right? So they have the Quantum Frederick is like a 2,100-acre facility where they're going to have all these data centers be operating. PG County is about to try to get back going with that. And so all this spending creates opportunity. There are signals that are forecasting it. There's policies that are being created, and the downstream effects become funding signals, but also workforce signals as well. And it'll impact your job, et cetera, et cetera. But most people, by the time it hits the public, sometimes it's too late and there's a window of opportunity. And now you can leverage tools like AI that help you look for these signals and then capture the opportunity before other people see it. And that's by building a system, as I call it, a capital intelligence operating system. And then all the downstream activities that you can create for yourself as a result. Like, for example, a friend of mine's, I just spoke at my alumni association, and I ran into somebody I went to college with a long, long time ago, and he was looking for a job, and he was like looking for a way to do it better. So I took his resume. I put a link to our alumni association website. I scraped all these websites, and I used Notion, and I basically built him like a job agent inside of not Notion. I'm sorry. I used Notebook LM, and I uploaded links to like certain uh, events that are taking place. He created text files uh, with his software skills, the job that he's looking for, the types of company he wants to work for, um, his resume, links to some key people. I found, I did a search and identified, people of influence in our alumni association that live in the area, and then about five other links associated with that, and then how it should search for uh, funding signals. So for him, it was grants, grant announcements. He was looking for smaller companies that were between 1 and 20 million in size, et cetera, et cetera. Then I connected that. Wrote a prompt using Gemini, and I built this project and then linked the notebook. And so now what he can do is he can write this short prompt. It'll go out and do research and find signals of people that will need a job, need jobs that fit his profile, right? Versus, and then he can be ahead of the job opportunity, or he can use data and say, hey, I saw that you just won this grant, or you did X, or you just got this new funding, which will trigger, in his case, finance jobs in the accounting sector or whatever, but it could be for something else. But you can see how that could be very powerful, because by the time it hits a job posting, it may be too late, or you can set yourself apart because now you have intelligence to work from versus, hey, just look at my resume just like everybody else. Right. And so how do we build systems like that? So the first thing is, what are those signals that would indicate opportunity, right? It's policies that are being initiated, news events, um, funding announcements, trends in the news, whatever, right? Then you take that information and you can build a uh, opportunity system, if you will, and then we can use AI to help execute it if you do it in the right way, right? And so some of these intelligence tools that we could pull from are all public data sources like RFP announcements, if you work doing government stuff, executive orders, local state government, like for example, here in Maryland, they have all these grants tied to emerging jobs, quantum jobs. They have initiatives tied to it, right? Where investments going, housing data, grants, infrastructure investments, corporate partnerships like OpenAI and a lot of the big AI companies have this Stargate thing. Well, what does that mean in terms of opportunity, either for your business, maybe career aspirations, and how it might shape what you're trying to do for yourself, right? And legislative appropriations. You could look at websites where they're talking about bills, so such and such, right? And then you can break that up into a 60 or 90-day window. And how does capital event before most people act on it, where you can position yourself and you can use AI tools. In our case, I'll say a digital employee to build out that workflow so it'll automatically do it for you, right? So let's take, if anybody wants to, like, if they have a website or a job up, they're look type of work they're looking for, their LinkedIn, I'll show you an example with some of your data if somebody's willing to share one of those assets, and I can show you a real life example. And so we'll walk through how that works, right? The announcement of the capital event, searching for these signals. I call them capital event inbox, if you will. It pulls in that data, it synthesizes it, you find a position, and then you can try to create opportunity from it, right? Um, and so what we want to do is we want to build things. I call it a digital employee. It's not chatting with the AI, it's having it read your logic, your how you do things, how you operate, versus you, like how most people prompt, where they delegate their thinking to it, they get generic output, or they just use it for mundane tasks. What we want to do is have it build, teach it how we do things, almost like if you were hiring somebody for a job. If you were going for a job interview or a business opportunity, or you are hiring somebody at your business, that you'd have a job description, you give them instructions, they'd have access to tools, right? They they be taught how you do things step by step, and they will have pre-existing skills, and all those things would decide if you hired them or not. Well, we can build files that work the same way and function the same way, right? And we can build these inside AI tools for all sorts of tasks, whether it's writing content, whether it's doing like working out, whatever. You could you could build in that expertise into this file, right? They could be a junior level skilled person, a mid-mark skilled person, or whatever, right? For example, if I just like this presentation, I did not build it from scratch. I built a skill that knows how I do presentations. I feed it the data and it does all the designing for me. And I use Claude to do that, but you don't have to, but as an example, right? So I don't have to repeatedly try to recreate how I do proposals. It knows my color scheme, my branding, everything. And so for all the different activities I do, I have all these agents or skills that I can call depending on the task I'm doing. And you can create the same thing, but it's all tied to a signal, some kind of proof point, an ask, and then it can act on that activity, right? So, um, so how do you find signals, or how do you know to look for it? So it could be an announcement like the White House last month released this 4-page document that's going to spur like billions of dollars of AI spending. They wrote this bill. It's called I'll just show it to you if you care. This is like nerdy stuff, but so they wrote this paper right here. It's called the National Policy Framework for Artificial Intelligence. And in this document, they talk about where they're going to be spending money, how they want to reskill Americans, things they want Congress to do, the places where they're going to give money to train people for opportunities, what they want as far as so it doesn't displace people for work, and how opportunities should be created. Now, this seems like an innocuous document, but what it's really going to do is spur billions of dollars of spending. Because even when an executive order is written, there is funding allocated even without a congressional approval, right? So this document is a test for what jobs might be created and so forth. So, for example, they talk about states should not be permitted to regulate AI development, right? So they're basically saying we want to set national policy how AI is dispersed for all Americans. They talk about who should get the money, like HBCUs, community colleges, et cetera, et cetera, what the capabilities are, how to protect people's data, how people should be paid for their data. And so this is an example of a capital event, even though there's no financial data here, because within about 120 days, they're going to spur a bunch of spending and activity to help implement this legislative recommendation. And there's tons of this type of stuff happening at the local, state, in your community, at companies that you might want to work for, and they're sending signals of what's to come in the future, right? And so, but we can leverage that for opportunity for ourselves, right? By we can run what I call a blind spot scan, for example, where it there's this process I'll show you where you can look at all these public data sources, your internal data. You could share other information to help on like for pattern recognition. Because one thing AI does better than the humans is it can summarize and analyze data at scale much faster than we can, right? And then define what the output is and then load a playbook or a strategy and you can help execute it. So if anybody's shared their website link or whatever, I'll show you an example with if somebody has a business, I could show an example if somebody's willing to put their business link or share maybe a goal you're trying to do, maybe a certain career you're trying to get into, a company you're trying to work with, just so you can see how this works. Is anybody willing to do that, or does anybody have any questions so far? No, no, no volunteers at all. So, um, all right. So, all right. Well, if there's no volunteers, I'll just use an example. Well, let me ask this.
Wait a
Does
minute, I
it,
might have one, Marvin.
okay, okay. So you're the brave one
Yes, it's
today.
live.
So thank you. All right. Well, it's a
So
pleasure
I
to meet
have a
you.
student. You want to put yours in the chat? What is your?
I can do more than one. I can do more than one. It's fine.
Okay. You said what
Hmm.
is it? Okay, his is career virtualization. Do you want to put it in the chat?
Yeah, put it in the chat just so I don't
Okay.
misspell it. Are you willing to share your LinkedIn profile so I can scrape it? If
Do
you're
you have
not,
a
it's a,
LinkedIn? Okay. Did you say career? Spell it. Vital. Oh, virtualization. Hi, Marvin,
pleasure to
Professor.
meet
I have you with the class. Hold on, I don't think you see my face. There we
you. No,
are.
I don't.
So,
Okay.
so I have about 7 students in here with me. So one of the
Okay.
students, he put in, he wanted me to share career virtualization. I have about three who are getting ready to graduate. Two or three of them have businesses, but I don't know if they're going to share that.
Okay. I mean, or if you just put the website to the business, that's enough. So here's what I would do. So I'll
Okay.
put what is his major? What year is he willing to share that? He or
Yes.
she?
Are you able to
Mhm.
hear him? Go ahead and say it. Can
I
you hear
couldn't
him?
hear. Not
He
really.
says
I'm sorry.
cybersecurity.
hmm Oh, that's a great one. Okay, I have some stuff for you. Okay. In a specific area in cybersecurity, like for example, they have some new cybersecurity certifications that all these government contractors have to get. It's called
He's coming over
CM.
to the mic. He's coming
Okay,
to the mic.
okay.
Go ahead and tell him your name and then introduce yourself before.
Where?
You right here, he's at the laptop.
hmm
Good
Okay.
evening, Frederick. My name is Frederick. It's more so the policy and policy aspect of cybersecurity.
Okay. Is there a particular like if I asked you where would you want to be 12 months from today in cybersecurity, what would you tell me? What would be your dream state?
Policy management, creating new policies
Let's see.
for the DoD.
For the Department of War? Okay. Okay.
Department of
I'm
Defense. Yeah, that's
joking.
what they did rename it, didn't they? Yeah.
No, I have a mentor. I have a mentor. He does work with DARPA, and he always says Department of War. So
Yeah, they
it's
didn't
like
change it.
sticking in my head, right? Okay. And is there a certain de like agency within the Department of War or certain types of threats you want to work with or anything like that?
Uh, that's a good question.
Well, thank you. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know right offhand.
But that's okay. Do you
Anything
have
dealing
a
with endpoint
in,
security, anything dealing with
endpoint?
endpoint security.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna take that, right? And I'm gonna say build a campus event signal. And the spelling, if you have typos, it doesn't matter. I would use Sonnet for this. So you see this thing in blue here? This is a skill that has all that logic I was talking about. And you can build these. You can ask the AI to build these things for you. And if we have time, I can show you. But just so you see behind the scenes what's happening. So after I build it, it's saved in this is Claude, but you can do these things and other AI tools like Perplexity has skill capability. ChatGPT is launching it, but even if they don't have a skill directory, they have the ability to do projects or custom GPTs or gems in Google Gemini's case, and you can do the same thing with those tools. And all it is think of it like a super prompt, really that I'm defining it to do a specific task, right? And so what I have all this logic, which you see it, it's pretty detailed, right? Instead of me having to remember or type that over and over, I basically made a shortcut. Almost like if you use Excel, think of it like a macro, like you saved a macro, right? If you've ever used Excel a lot, right? And so what it's going to do is that formula I talked about, it's baked in here. And so what it does is going to look for a capital investment on the internet. It's going to look for policies tied to that investment, regulatory pressures, workforce shortages, and then manual prep to see if it's an underserved market. And then after it does that, it's going to run through this process to identify that underserved market and then how you could position it, right? And then it's going to keep going on, and then it's going to do this entire workflow for us, right? And you can build these things to do simple things or very complex things, right? Proposals, whatever. Okay. And then then I would submit that this skill. And don't worry about it. Everything, the thing I just showed you, this skill I showed you, you'll be able to access it on my website, and so you'll have it. So you don't have to take screenshots or anything. If you want a copy of this skill and to test it out, you'll be able to. I'll show you a link or a QR code where you can access it, and it'll be emailed to you if you're interested. So now. And thanks for volunteering. You can see now it's running the process, right? Based on that little set of information I have, right? If I had your resume to upload, your LinkedIn profile, your full name, I could do a search about you online so it could pull more information. So the accuracy's only as good as the data you feed it, but you know you, right? So of course my version is limited to this small bit of information here, right? So you see how it's pulled that and kind of come up with a thesis for me, right? Now now it's asking me a question. It says, before we map your blind spot, what's the biggest, so you have to answer this because I don't know the answer of this for you. What's the biggest structural change hitting this space that most organizations are not paying attention to from your perspective? If you don't know, you can say, I have no idea. I need you to help me. That's okay too.
I would say security.
Okay, security. Okay. And you see the next part, it said, think DoD zero trust mandates, AI-driven endpoint detection. See how it's doing all this automatically? Workforce automation through policy as code, CMMC 2.0, which I'm aware of, rollout pressure, and something else. Okay. I'll just type that because, like I said, the more data you feed it, the better the results. And as you do this, you'll see how to work, work it. So now you see it's pulling up a recommendation. It says within DoD cybersecurity, policy management, import security. So I'm not an expert at this. I know a little bit about cybersecurity because I've worked with it on a small scale. And now it's asking a question. See, it says, which of these is closest to what you're seeing to move money? Do you want to focus on CMMC 2.0, DoD zero trust architecture mandates? AI augmented endpoint detection, or policy as code? Which one of those buckets do you want to focus on? There's
You
no
said
wrong answer.
policy,
Policy as
policy
code.
is code. Mhm.
Okay. So then it'll do the next step. And so what it's doing is acting as an expert researcher and interviewer, and then it's going to go out and do searches along it. So now it's asking me another set of questions for you. I'm sorry. So it says most DoD contractors are managing security in Word documents and SharePoint. So that's your opportunity. That's where, so that formula where it says manual processes, that's why was able to extract that out because it's in the logic to look for those gaps, right? But now they're moving towards machine enforceable configuration. Do you know what that is? Have you ever heard that term before?
He said that's a first for him.
Okay, well, we did something new today then. So now it's looking for your blind spot. So now it's asking you, what's the biggest infrastructure investment policy push accelerating policy as code? And then it's telling you, I'll just say I don't know. Just so if they ask you something you don't know, it's okay to say I don't know. Help me, right? You could say that.
Right.
Right. Because because of the scale of how so now it's searching the web to try to do synthesize the data to give you an insight. So you see how it just did that? It searched the web. It says the biggest capital push for policy as code in the DoD. It said this year fiscal they're going to they just authorized $15.1 billion in Pentagon cyber spending. Were you aware of that? Okay. And then it said
Marvin, I might have missed this. When you said they, who are the they?
they would be the Department of, remember when we first did it, he said
Oh, that's right. His Department of Defense. Okay. Thank
Department
you.
of War, yeah, okay, so the
Right.
Pentagon, right? And that's a 4.1 increase. So because of that increase, that's gonna create new opportunities in your space and other places, right?
Wow.
So,
That's good.
see, right? And so now So what does that mean in terms of job opportunity for yourself? And you can go down to these details. You could see it's getting very specific, right? So now it's asking me, where's the workforce gap? Again, if you don't know, just say, I have no idea. Help me. Okay. I need a strategy. Just say, I want a 150K job. Let me just say that, whatever. So, all right. And then it can augment where your gaps are, right? So now it's going to run a scan and try to correlate data because we have limited information. Like the more information you pull, the narrow the research can do. We'll do this later. So I don't want to throw you off. So with that, so now it's built this report, but this report is based off the skill we created, so it can present it all that information I just told you in a way that you can digest. So now it's giving me a strategy for you. It's telling me, uh, you know, what you're trying to do, where the opportunity is. CMMC 2.0 is what, and then over the next 12 to 18 months, there's going to be an opportunity, but you're early. The four things that will help in your space are following this capital event, so you know the budget increases, getting third-party certifications. They say 60% of cyber organizations report skills gap, not headcount gaps. So what are those gaps? Well, they just named them for you. ATO automation, have you ever heard of that? And then a list of other things, and then on and on and on. And now it's built this report, this map of basically a strategy for you where you could tap to try to leverage this to create opportunity for yourself, and it on and on. And then now it gives me a playbook for you to follow, right? It's telling me you should target small to mid-tier contractors, um, and then monitor them for these type of activities, et cetera, et cetera. And then now it's giving you a recommendation on a AI or digital employee you could build to help you in this process, right? So that's just one example. Any question? I mean, that was real quick. Like I didn't go. Huh?
What'd you say?
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. What'd you say?
Oh, yeah. They were asking for the link, but that's
Oh,
probably at the
oh
end of
yeah.
your presentation.
Oh yeah, it's at the end. I'm going to give you the presentation, so they'll pass it out, but I'll show it to you. Um, but if you want it now, it's right here. So just compoundleverage.com/start. I'll put it in the chat. So,
Thank you.
um,
And he says, thank you. He said, thank you for letting him be the volunteer.
oh, if somebody else wants to volunteer, we could do them, or if somebody
I,
wants to do a business instead of a job opportunity thing, because I could go further in the rabbit hole with this. I could say, um, tell me.
as you're doing that, I just wanted to highlight on you. I just want to shout you out, doing great things. Thank you for having your
You have
students
an
here.
email coming from me, Delise. You
Yes,
have an email.
ma'am.
Good to see you.
And I
Okay.
just wanted to send you guys too. We'll be sending out the presentation along with the recorded playback. So everything that Marvin just went through too, you'll be able to have the link for.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so I just asked it, tell me where job focus is. So if you gave me your LinkedIn profile, I could scrape your LinkedIn profile, put it in there, so this could be a lot more accurate, right?
Mhm.
Right. Then I could say, give me, let's say 5 target DoD uh, departments to focus my job search. Let's just say that over the next, let's see, 90 days. Let's just say that. All right. So now what I can have it do is search for target opportunities tied to what you just told me. Then I can have it build a strategy. And then if I wanted to, I could schedule an event would automatically send me this information every week, every day, or job alerts. And then I could have it. I could, you could just keep going down a rabbit hole. So that was telling me 5 target agencies that you should focus on. Have you looked at any of these agencies and why? Not just the names, but why they and what the area of focus they would be good for. So like this one's talking about the endpoint detection and it's linking to the sources so you can verify the source. Of course, you have to verify it, right? Army Corps of Engineers, NAVWAR, and I could ask for more. I could ask it to find. I could say, who should I contact at these agencies, or how should I start? So I could just keep going down. See how you could keep going. I could have it built, put my resume in and format. I could just keep going. So you can see how you could quickly get intelligence, leverage it, and then build a strategy, and then build an execution plan, and then you could start working a plan. And we could do this for anything, right? So now I just asked it, what are my moves, right? I could tell it to build me a 90-day action plan off that. So so this is where the capital events become powerful, but the linchpin is because we asked to find capital events and then connected it to opportunity that we were seeking. And then we can build a strategy off that, and then you can build digital employees or AI and helpers, if you will, to help you execute that strategy for the outcome that you're trying to reach. So see, now I'm taking it further. So now I'm giving a step-by-step plan. This is what you need to do the next 90 days. It's writing draft email outreaches for you to send out. And then if I wanted to, I could go and ask for who the people I should target. Now we just did this in 10 minutes with no data, right? So you have basically a 90-day action plan here off one capital event. All right. So for the volunteer, any questions? If you want this, I don't know if you use Claude. I'll put it in the chat if you want to look at all the responses and the back and forth. I'll put it in the chat for you.
Thank you, Mark.
Hmm.
You might have other students on you have 14 others online. Did you
Oh, I'll do more. I like doing interactive, so this is my favorite part. Not, so let me. Okay, I put your information in the chat if you want to, take a look at the output or keep messing with it a little more. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else want to? I'll do some more too. I always find this is better than just talking about theoretical stuff. So, but yeah, if you want to download the skill, you can just go to that link, put your email address, it'll email you a link, and then you could download it. And there's an instruction video how to install it. So yeah. All right. Next person. Who's anybody is next? If not, I'll keep going. So. Does anybody have a business? I want to show a business example. Anybody have a business they're trying to start, have already started? Maybe they're saying, I want a better way to find leads and customers. I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
He said he has a business. He doesn't have a website. He used Facebook Meta.
Uh, Facebook Meta. Okay, can you put just in the chat, just give me like a little blurb about the business, maybe the name of it, that kind of thing. And I could use that as a foundation.
I was about to say, Lucy, you want to volunteer your business as they're doing that one? Lucy, I see your hands
Yeah.
up. Yeah, so
Yes.
Lucy has a business called Bakari
Mhm.
Trading, and as he's put his link in the chat, we can do Lucy's too. And I just added her link, and she's one of our members of the collective and part of our business plan competition winner.
Okay, so I'm just going to ask a couple questions. So, what is if I was to ask you, what was your biggest struggle in terms of getting leads or customers? What would you say? You don't know your ideal customer, or you have plenty of lead. What do you want to do better as far as opportunity finding that maybe you see in your business? as an example.
Thank you, Melvin. So I think the greatest struggle is a lot of our customers are international customers.
Mm-hmm.
So most of them don't use websites to access to look for leads.
Okay.
However, I'm trying to set up e-commerce.
Mhm.
Uh, so that's where that's the future. Like my plan for 2027, have an e-commerce platform.
Okay. So you said most of them don't use online. How do they find out about you then? Or is it referrals? Do
Or
they have a
yeah, word of
Mhm.
mouth referrals.
Okay. And how are the referrals come to you? Like if I was to ask you this, like, is there a common thread of the referrals? Are they like people at through church? Or, like think about like the people who referred you. What's common about them?
So I'll do like a flyer and send it out to like different groups of
Hmm.
like immigrants, and then I'll lead them to the stores that are carrying our products, and
Okay.
then somebody will tell someone about the product, and then they'll reach us, like the retail stores will reach to us directly, and then like some wholesalers will also hear about it from maybe some retail stores, and then they'll reach out to us.
Mm. So you basically have a referral network of people that they know, like, and trust, right?
Correct.
Hmm. Okay, I'll say most customers do not use the internet
And the business is like an import export. I mean, we import products.
to individuals or to companies.
It's business to business. So we import like teas and coffee and other products from Kenya, and then distribute them to.
Oh, Kenya. I've been to Kenya twice. It's
Oh,
a
you
beautiful
have?
country.
Where, Nairobi?
Yes. Yes,
Oh, beautiful
Nairobi.
country. The least
Yes,
tell
it
you
is.
encourage the least to visit.
Oh yeah, yeah. Mbasa is very nice. So, yeah, I
Right.
went for work. I had a government contract and we did some work down there for IPOA. So so I didn't get to do as much fun stuff. But the traffic is horrendous though. Oh my gosh. But anyway. Um so okay, so let's do it now. So if you think about that, right? So now what I'm gonna use one of my other skills, but it functions the same way, right? So would you say most of your customers are in Kenya or other parts of Africa?
No, they are in the United States.
They're in the United States. Are they trying to get stuff from other countries, or they're all just local US products they're trying to get?
So they try to get things, ethnic foods that they were familiar with in Africa. So our market is not just the Kenyans, it's a lot of East Africans and West Africans.
And do you ship or do they come to a retail spot or both?
So we distribute to the retail stores, and then they go to the retail stores to buy.
Okay, now if I was to ask you your marketing goal, what would it be
My marketing goal,
in 12 months? Like what would you like, where would you like to be that you aren't today?
I would like to be in like the mainstream market, like maybe like Whole Foods, somewhere like Richardson's Farm, and other mom and pop shops.
All right, I'm just start there. So I have another skill called a capital event radar, and it's similarly structured, but in this case, I think it's a better fit for your situation. And so I was typing in what you told me your website, different things. So it's going to scrape your website. It's going to ingest all the information you told me. Then I'm going to do a public data record search. So now it's giving me a profile of ideal customers for you. Of course, I have limited information, to work from. So, but
Okay.
so there were two links in the chat, so it's probably mixed up something, but that's okay. So this other skill has a scoring system of like, and it scores by opportunity. For example, it's telling me there's a Maryland DHCD Healthy Homes production grant that's that you could potentially apply for the person with the construction business, right? So so what this is doing is pulling funding opportunities, scoring them, and when they're due and how much these are like grants and different things you could access. And then it's scoring them based on the scoring criteria I have, right? So you could not only use this for, finding contracting opportunities, but you could use it to find grants for your, whether or scholarships or whatever the case. But you can see how this could be very powerful. So something it mentioned, it says, have you heard of this? The USDA specialty.
I've not heard of it.
Okay, so they said it's the grant that you could apply for through the USDA that you might
Okay.
want to look at. And then it says Whole Foods has a Market Mid-Atlantic Regional Buyer Program for Local Producer Program. Are you familiar with that?
No.
They said they accept applications from regional importers. Regional importers. It also mentioned Mom's Organic Market, which they have several locations in Maryland that you should look into. And then it also mentioned J Cub Distributors and they focus there in Langley Park and DC. It says they focus on African food distributor specializing in Cameroon products, serving DC and Langley Park, potential distribution partner for you.
All right.
Is that good? I mean, you may have already known this, but
Yeah, I
um,
don't I'm not familiar with JKUB, but I
mm,
would certainly look into them.
yeah. So, and like I said, I'm going off limited data, but you can see how this could be extremely helpful with your internal data and extraction of what you know in that you probably have in your head that you could easily dump. That of course I don't know. Right.
Correct.
Right. Um, so for example, where's your business based as an example?
So we are based in Baltimore. We have a warehouse in Dundalk.
I'm going to check and see if there's any grants that you should be looking at to apply to for your business next.
All right.
Right. I'll see. Bakari Trading, that's your business, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So then I could pull up a list of grants that might be for you to look at, and then maybe some that. So now it's doing you see how it's going, scraping the internet to see it. Are you you're a woman-owned business? Is that true? It said you are. So
Yeah.
okay. So now it's pulling up grants that it says that you should look into. Right.
Mm,
So now we can take this data and act on it, verify it, and see if these are any opportunities that might be worth us pursuing.
all right.
Have you heard of the Amber Grant? They said you can get a total of $50,000 over a 12-month period.
No, first time hearing about it.
Okay. They said each month they give out three $10,000 Amber Grant winners. Every
Mm,
monthly winner becomes eligible for the $50,000 year-end grant. So I'll send you this chat so you don't have to write this down. But you
all right.
see these a couple opportunities that you could potentially look into. Like it even pulled up us right here. So, so yeah, so, but anyway, this is just very basic, like I said, but this is how you can take capital event signals, which are, these are all capital event signals, right? But in
Mhm.
this case, I did it for grants. I could do it to try to identify how I could improve my sales strategy, or if I had your customer list or your product list, what are the most popular products that I've sold over the last 12 months? I could import that data or tell it that information, or hey, I just saw this store is stocking my competitor's product. How can I get my product in there since they're giving other African, products for immigrants there? See what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, because we know, for example, I had a software platform for like inventory management. So I know there's like about over a little over 21,000 independent grocers across the United States. So I could say, hey, I want to target every independent grocer that has immigrant population, have high density immigrant populations that I'm targeting. And then I could ask it to tell me what all those stores are.
Wow. Fantastic.
Okay, so that's an example. But the next is this capital events, your thinking, and you're leveraging AI to execute it. Because you don't have time to do this, but now we could do it in a matter of minutes
Right.
by and you're creating assets from it, because this thinking asset you've created is now a digital asset for you that you can build, scale, use with your employees, or eventually it could become a revenue source for you because now you have a competitive advantage. Because in most cases, most of the people that you're competing against aren't doing these things yet. Right. So,
Right.
so anyway, so
Thank you,
anyway.
Mark.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay. I have time for one more, if somebody else wants to join the party. So let me put this, I'll share this chat for you if you want to, expand on it, or to look at the details of what was output. So
Appreciate it.
yeah, there you go. All right. Yeah, one more volunteer. I have time. We got like 12 minutes. I got time for one more if somebody's interested. So no. Okay. The construction, there was one more, I think, the construction company, right? The First Salute Home Remodel and Handyman Service. Are you still on the chat? No. Okay. All right. So, so what I would take away from this is if you could download the skill, or you could ask AI to build your own. So if I say, hey, I don't want to use the skill, Marvin, I just want to get started, you could come here, and just use what I showed you to build your own. I could click this button here. I could ask it. So what I always tell people to use reverse prompting. Ask it for the outcome you want. Don't give it directions how to do it. So if I said, like Google, if I said you're a L9 software engineer. Mhm. I want you to build me a skill to generate more leads. Just to say, is that generate more leads? Let's just say that's what it is. How would you go about doing that? I didn't tell it, because now I could lean on its training as expertise versus my expertise only. And then I can hit this button, and then it's going to ask you a series of questions, and then it'll pull up. So Claude has a skill creator tool. It's going to pull that skill that Claude installed on it, and then it's going to ask you a few questions, and then you could build a skill for anything you want: presentations, resumes, whatever. But you see, the key was I gave it a role and I gave it expertise. Then I asked it for the outcome I wanted. And now you become an orchestration you as a human are the orchestration and judgment layer, and you're using the AI and you're embedding your thinking into a file so you don't have to keep telling it over and over again. So I would just leave you with that. See how it's asking me, so what do you want to do? Do you want to look for consulting opportunities, freelance jobs? So you just answer those questions, and this is a way for you to test out building these little digital employees that you manage for different things that you do on a daily basis. Right. So anyway, so I would leave with that. And then I'll just close with this. I would say try to build your first digital employee. If you have questions, I have a thing on my website that kind of walks through kind of my approach to building digital employees. You can go to compoundleverage.com, explained. I have examples of digital employees. So you can see some examples to kind of get your juices flowing. I have a community, so if you ever, feel free to join along. And then on my website, I have a bunch of free resources. So if you go to my website, Compound Leverage, click here, go down to resources. I've got a bunch of different things. The toolkit, which I mentioned. I have a little thing to build. It'll write a digital employee and write the prompt for you. You can click this button. If you want to see kind of your AI, where you're at on AI adoption expertise, I have a survey for that. I got a cheat sheet how to know what model to select. So if you ever struggle with that, you can do that. I have some sample playbooks you can build, and also have AI tool guide. You say, I don't know what tools to use. I have a little guide like what tools to use for what types of activities. So if you need help with that, and so anyway, and then if anybody has any questions, I'll leave it open, and then hopefully this has been helpful. So yeah. So. And then if you're ever curious about what a capital event is, I have a page on here that kind of walks through what we went over, and kind of how to approach using capital events to create leverage for yourself. So everything I just talked about is on this page. I just embedded it into a chat, right? And lastly, I would also look in the browser agent, so Claude and ChatGPT and Perplexity. You could create automated solutions where it could do searches for you, or you could be on a web page. I could ask it to do something, fill out a form, create tools. So I would just say get your hands dirty and start thinking like I'm creating digital employees versus I'm just having it do random tasks and I'm embedding my thinking into it. And if you don't know how to write a prompt, ask the AI to write the prompt for you. Don't do it yourself. Say, can you write a prompt? This is what I'm trying to do. How would you go about doing this? It takes down the learning barrier, and you'll accelerate your progress a lot faster.